Hi, Emily. It's really good to see you again. How are ya?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Good. Before we jump in, to kind of what we're going to discuss today, how have you been feeling this past week?
I guess a little better in some ways. I do think I've been trying to pay more attention to my mood, like we talked about.
Okay.
And I've noticed how like quickly my thoughts kind of spiral when something like even small goes wrong.
hmm
Um, and it's definitely exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good insight though. Thank you for sharing and noticing that. What you're describing is really common with both anxiety and depression and how kind of like one small thing can domino effect and trigger a whole chain of like self-critical or like fearful thoughts. I was thinking that maybe we could start working on like a maybe a tool today to help you with some of that. Like something from, maybe some like cognitive behavioral therapy. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, just a little bit, but I don't know a lot about it.
Okay. So cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT is a therapy approach that helps us explore like the connections between our thoughts and feelings and behaviors. So the basic idea is that what we think can influence how we feel and act, pretty much, and kind of like when we notice unhelpful thoughts and shift them, it can really ease the emotional weight that we carry, like that anxiety or that self-doubt that you feel.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, good. So one of the CBT skills that we can start with is called cognitive restructuring. So it's basically learning how to notice, like you just like you've been doing, noticing those unhelpful thoughts, pausing, and challenging it. So that doesn't mean that we tell ourselves that things are perfect when they're not. But it means that we give ourselves, a little bit more of like a balanced, helpful perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Can you like try to give me an example or like show me how that works though?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to walk you through an example and we'll try one together. So let's say that I'm a new mom and the baby is crying and I think I can't calm her down. I'm a terrible mom. The thoughts immediately bring shame and tears and maybe some tension between me and my partner. Um, but I'm going to slow down and I'm going to take a few seconds to ask myself some questions. And those questions might look like, what's the evidence for and against this thought, right? So, what's the evidence for the thought that I'm a terrible mom and against the thought that I'm a terrible mom? And maybe what am I assuming the worst of myself at this point because I'm in a tough spot? And maybe what would I say to a friend in this situation? So, would I say the things to a friend that I'm saying to myself? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thought would be, right, I'm a terrible mom. The evidence for being a terrible mom, I think, would be that the baby is crying. I didn't sleep much. I feel overwhelmed, right? The evidence against that thought might be that I fed her. I changed her. I'm trying. First time mom, she has good days. I have good days. And against that thought, an alternative thought could be I'm tired and I'm trying my best and babies cry. And that doesn't mean that I'm failing or that I'm a bad mom. Um, so does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I do that a lot. I think I go straight to like the worst case scenario.
Okay.
Like if I forget something or get overwhelmed, I'll think like I'm just ruining everything.
Yeah. Okay, that's a perfect example. So it's kind of nice because when we go through that thought process, the new thought that we kind of portray onto the situation doesn't sugarcoat the situation. It just gives us more time to breathe and kind of puts it into plain simple words of what's actually happening versus how we're feeling in the moment. Um, would you feel okay maybe trying one together using those thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think like this morning I thought like I'm never gonna get it together. Like
Okay.
that hit me pretty hard this morning when I
Okay.
felt that way.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing that. Maybe we can walk through that. So let's walk through that, right? So what's the thought behind that?
I thought that I'm never going to get it together.
Okay. And what's the evidence for you thinking that you're never going to get it together?
I was running late. I forgot the diaper bag
Mhm.
and I yelled at my wife.
Okay. So, how about the evidence that could be used against that thought?
Um, Maybe that I'm just adjusting to a
Hmm.
lot right now.
Hmm.
Um, I remembered the baby's bottle.
Hmm.
Um, I've had better mornings before.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So what can an alternative thought be to that kind of negative self-critical thought?
Um, that I had a rough morning,
Hmm.
and it doesn't mean that I won't find my rhythm or have a good day morning again. Um, and that I've, handled hard things before.
Yeah. So how does that thought feel to you compared to your original thought?
Honestly, it feels kind of like a relief. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if I believe it all the way yet, but it's a lot kinder. It's a lot me being more kind to myself, having a little bit more compassion for myself.
Yeah, yeah, and that's okay. So, like, this is just practice, not perfection, right? The more that we do it, the more that your brain learns to challenge those harsh automatic thoughts. It's like building a muscle, right? We're creating new loops in your brain. And the more you use it, the more that it'll develop, right? So, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
actually does make a lot of sense. I think I could and definitely should try this. Like when I'm spiraling, if I feel myself getting to that point, I think I should try this.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Maybe we can start just once a day, just choosing a tough moment and kind of walking through this process. So you could use, I have a worksheet that you could use, or even like vo the voice notes, like on your phone, if that's easier. Would you be open to maybe trying that this week?
Yeah, yeah, I like the idea of not just believing like the worst about myself or like
Yeah.
all the negativity of my day and how horrible of a job I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. And just to be clear, you are not making anything up or pretending things are perfect, right? You're just giving your brain a more balanced, realistic view of how things are and in what matters pretty much, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'll definitely try it this week.
Okay, awesome. So next time that we're together, we'll check in about how it felt. And if it felt, awkward at first, we'll work through it together and we'll put more tools in your toolbox from there, okay? And I think that you're doing this work that you're doing is really important, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Okay?
much.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Bye. Just talked about how it's a